Have you ever felt that the kinder you are, the less respect you receive? That the more you try to please, the more others ignore, test, or even use you? Perhaps you can't put it into words, but you feel it in your body, in the tension of swallowing a response you wanted to give, in the discomfort of realizing that your voice is not heard, in the frustration of seeing manipulative, cold, and even cruel people being respected while you, who just wanted peace, are constantly stepped on. But what if I told you that this is not a coincidence? That there is a logic behind it, a dark, uncomfortable, but true logic. Machiavelli wrote over 500 years ago that it is better to be feared than loved when you cannot be both. And however cold or even cruel that may sound, the reality is that the world we live in responds more to fear than to kindness, not because people are naturally evil, but because the human mind respects boundaries, not promises. It admires strength, not submission. We're not talking about becoming a tyrant, a manipulator, or a narcissist. We're talking about something much deeper, about understanding that being good is not enough. That being kind without knowing how to impose respect is like bleeding in the ocean. Sooner or later, the sharks will smell it. Maybe you're at that point right now, tired of being ignored, of giving too much, of feeling like you're always in the background. Maybe you're wondering, how can I be respected without becoming someone I hate? How can I show strength without losing my essence? This message is for you. Here, we will unmask the illusion that kindness is enough. We will explore what psychology says about fear, respect, and authority. And with the help of Machiavelli, we will discover how to transform your presence into something that others do not dare to ignore. Because in the real world, those who do not set boundaries are pushed to the abyss. If you're ready to look in the mirror and finally understand why you are treated this way, keep reading. What comes next may change the way you position yourself forever. People do not respect kindness in itself. They respect what it represents when accompanied by strength. The mistake is in thinking that being good is enough, as if treating others well, being kind, avoiding conflicts, and sacrificing for others would automatically make you valued. But the human brain does not work that way. Respect does not arise from intention. It arises from the perception of authority. And authority, my dear, is built with posture, with firmness, and yes, with a certain degree of fear. Psychology has long shown that human beings react to fear with attention. When someone imposes clear boundaries, speaks with conviction, and does not hesitate to withdraw from abusive situations, the message conveyed is simple: not with me. And the other person's brain understands this as a barrier, a territory with an electric fence, a field where one does not tread without caution. Now think of the opposite: people who say yes when they mean no, who explain too much, who smile to avoid conflict, who remain silent to keep the peace. In the eyes of an observer, this person does not convey security. They convey permission. And where there is too much permission, abuse is born. Fear and respect are connected by an invisible but powerful thread. And it is not about threatening, shouting, or acting aggressively that is disguised weakness. True psychological strength lies in self-control, in firm silence, in a gaze that does not need to justify its existence, in the simple act of saying no without a tremor in the voice. Machiavelli was not suggesting that the ruler be cruel for pleasure. He was warning of a human fact. People quickly forget favors, but they never forget who makes them think twice before crossing the line. This applies to political leaders, yes, but it also applies to you, in your work, in your friendships, in your relationships. Those who do not understand this dynamic spend their lives trying to be liked, but they will never be taken seriously. And perhaps now you are wondering, so does that mean being good is wrong? No, but there is a dilemma, and that is what we will explore next. In the next part, we will talk about one of the greatest internal conflicts people face, the dilemma of kindness. How to know when your kindness has turned into weakness. and what to do when you realize you are being exploited precisely for trying to be fair. Get ready to face the mirror. The truth will hurt, but it will also set you free. Maybe no one ever taught you this. Maybe you grew up hearing that being a good person was enough, that it was enough to treat others with empathy, to help whenever possible, to put others' needs before your own, that the world would return the same to you. But the reality is different. In the real world, kindness without discernment becomes bait. And predators, yes, they exist, sniff this out like a dog smells fear. There is a brutal, silent, and cruel dilemma. The more you try to be good, the more vulnerable you become. And this corrodes because you start to wonder, is the problem me? Am I being too nice? But if I stop being this way, will I be betraying who I am? It is at this point that many get stuck because they believe that hardening is corrupting oneself. But here's the truth no one told you. There is no true kindness without strength. A kindness that does not know how to protect itself, that does not. This is where everything starts to change. Not with a loud bang or a dramatic twist, but with a subtle shift, a realization that the way you've been navigating the world might not be serving you anymore. It's the moment you begin to see the difference between being feared and being hated. At first glance, they might seem similar, but they're worlds apart. And understanding this distinction is crucial because if you don't, you risk falling into one of two extremes. Being so passive that people walk all over you, or being so controlling that people rebel against you. True authority doesn't come from intimidation or submission. It comes from balance. And achieving that balance is an art form, one that requires self-awareness, discipline, and empathy. Being feared doesn't mean being aggressive or domineering. It doesn't mean raising your voice, belittling others, or ruling with an iron fist. That's not respect. That's fear. And fear, when used as a tool of control, has a limited shelf life. Eventually, it turns against the one who wields it. Machiavelli understood this. He warned that a ruler must avoid being hated at all costs because hatred is a silent poison. People can endure fear, but they can't endure humiliation. When you humiliate someone, you plant a seed of resentment that grows quietly until it erupts. So, the key is to command respect, not through fear, but through fairness and consistency. In practical terms, this means setting clear boundaries and enforcing them calmly and consistently. It means being someone whose presence is felt, whose words carry weight, and whose absence is noticed. You don't need to explain yourself constantly or justify your decisions to everyone. Your actions and demeanor should speak for themselves. This kind of authority isn't built overnight. It starts with small, deliberate actions. Saying no when you mean it, stepping away from toxic situations without guilt, and refusing to engage in conversations that drain you. It's about reclaiming your emotional space and making it clear that you won't be molded by others' expectations. Psychological studies support this approach. People who exercise authority quietly and confidently, without resorting to confrontation, tend to garner more respect over time. This is known as latent power, the kind of influence that doesn't need to be flaunted because it's inherently understood. It's the power that makes others think twice before crossing you, not because they're afraid of retaliation, but because they recognize your self-respect and boundaries. But what if, despite your efforts, you still find yourself being disrespected or overlooked? This is where we delve into deeper, more personal territory. Often, our struggles with asserting ourselves stem from patterns established in childhood. Perhaps you were taught that being agreeable was the key to being loved, or that saying no was selfish. These lessons, whether explicit or implied, can lead to a lifetime of people-pleasing behaviors. As adults, we might find ourselves constantly seeking approval, avoiding conflict, and accepting less than we deserve. We might fear that asserting ourselves will lead to rejection or abandonment. But this mindset is a form of psychological bondage. Every time we prioritize others' comfort over our own needs, we reinforce the belief that our feelings don't matter. Breaking free from this cycle requires introspection and courage. It involves examining the situations where we silence ourselves, identifying the relationships where we feel obligated to conform, and challenging the beliefs that keep us stuck. It's not about becoming confrontational or unkind. It's about honoring our own needs and values. As you begin to assert yourself, you may encounter resistance. Some people will be uncomfortable with your newfound boundaries. They might label you as difficult or accuse you of changing. But remember, their discomfort is not your responsibility. It's a reflection of their inability to control you as they once did. You may lose some relationships along the way, but that's okay. Letting go of connections that thrive on your subservience is a necessary step toward building a life rooted in authenticity and mutual respect. When you align with your true self, you attract people who appreciate you for who you are, not for what you can do for them. However, asserting yourself doesn't mean becoming rigid or unapproachable. The goal is to find a balance between strength and compassion. It's about being firm in your convictions while remaining open to dialogue. It's about standing your ground without trampling others. This balance is delicate but achievable. It requires ongoing self-reflection and a commitment to personal growth. It involves recognizing when to speak up and when to listen, when to take action and when to pause. It's about cultivating a sense of inner stability that isn't easily shaken by external circumstances. Ultimately, the journey towards self-respect and assertiveness is deeply personal. It involves unlearning old habits, confronting uncomfortable truths, and embracing the discomfort that comes with change. But the rewards are profound: increased confidence, healthier relationships, and a greater sense of fulfillment. So, where do you need to start asserting yourself? Is it in your workplace, where your contributions go unnoticed? In your family, where old dynamics no longer serve you? In your friendships, where boundaries are blurred? Identifying these areas is the first step toward transformation. Change begins with awareness. By acknowledging the patterns that hold you back, you open the door to new possibilities. And as you step into your power, remember that true strength lies not in domination, but in authenticity and self-respect.